Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, as I always say. Welcome to another chat with Matt. And today I'm going to be joined by James Barton, who's a serial chatter with myself, which is great. We're going to talk about something slightly different today in terms of opinions. Now, you know, we all experience in everyday life sometimes polarized views on opinion. And we're just going to chuck a topic out there, chat about it, and see where we get to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask James to create the opinion, and then we'll see where it goes. Who knows where it will go? Anyway, we'll start off with a normal, how are you, James?
Very well, thank you, Matt. And how are you?
Good. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday.
Sun is shining.
Indeed. Just about, mate, just about. All change, of course. Saturday's going to rain. Typical weekend, right? In England, Saturday during the day, but there we go, mate. That's all good. So, I mean, the question I wanted to talk to you about is something that I know that you and we had a robust conversation about a few weeks ago. We never really got to the bottom of it, and I just thought it'd be a really interesting topic to talk over, which is it's about passion and jobs. And there's this theory of, you know, do you need to be passionate about what you do to be good at what you do? And equally, you take that stage further, is do you need to be passionate about what you sell to sell it? So I know that we have different views. So what do you think? So
I've been in sales, as you know, for a long time. There's no point saying how many years, because it's a question. It's been over. Yeah, thanks very much. The question is, you know, is it 20 years or 1 year repeated 20 times? So, you know, experience is only useful if you keep changing and evolving in your marginal gains. From having sold different things over the course of my career, I think if you don't believe in what you're selling and you don't have a passion that what you're going to deliver is going to bring value to your customer as an outcome, then I would question whether you can sell it effectively. Now, in some respects, as I'm speaking, that's almost a bit different from what you're saying, because the passion lies in making it, for me personally, it's in making a difference for the customer that I'm working with. I think you have to have that in a sales role to be really effective in what you do.
Okay, so that's different, isn't it? Because what you're saying is, as long as I'm passionate about helping my client, then you could sell anything. What we were debating though was, do you have to be passionate or have a passion about a topic to be good at something? And the way that I always explain it is, don't confuse passion with competence. I can be competent at something, but not passionate about it in any way, shape or form. And you can see that in all walks of life. People do work all the time. They're very competent at it, but they might not be passionate about it. And I think sometimes we try to confuse and try and conflate the two things into one to try and get to this utopia that may not exist, or in some cases avoid true talent because they might not be passionate about the something that you're talking about. And that can be just as difficult.
So let me give you a couple of variables then. So I understand that. It makes sense what you're saying in terms of you could be really good at something even though you're not passionate about it. I understand that. So let me give you a couple of variables and see what the net outcome might be. So let's say you're really competent about something, but you're not passionate about it. What do you think that might do to performance?
If you're, well, this is where, and I was just wondering as we were talking, whether it's also got some level of depth around personality types. So as someone who's very introverted like myself, and who is quite nerdy and technical and to the dots, it doesn't actually matter too much, because all I'm doing is following a process. But someone who like you are extroverted, very attached to emotions and empathy, that's why you're such a great person with clients, that might be different, because actually you're connected more to how you feel about something impacts how you do something. Yet for me, it's about a process. I'm doing a process. It doesn't matter too much. It's just doing a process. Come like a psychopath, don't I? I'll do anything. I don't feel anything. I'm just doing a process. But I'm just wondering if there's a difference in the way that different personalities may process work. Because I wake up and I have a bunch of tasks. I get tasks done. And that's what I do. That's how I feel about just tasks. But for you, it seems to be a much more emotional journey.
I mean, I think whether it's described as being passionate or fulfilling or rewarding or whatever it may be, yeah, I agree with you. When I'm delivering something that works for a customer and the customer appreciates it and they get really good outcomes and they get good results at a business or a personal level, makes me feel good, no question about that. But I would challenge for you, even in what you just described, there must be times when you've done great things for a customer in your task-based way that still mean that gives you a good feeling and it makes you passionate about delivering what you've done.
I'm more passionate about ticking the box to say that's done than I am about anything else.
But isn't that still passion for something though?
Yeah. Yes, and I'm not saying that. So what we're saying is that there is always an underlying passion. It's trying to find out where that passion is. So could I, for example, do what you do and enjoy it? Probably not, because I'm just not that way. I'm not wired that way. And I think the counter is true for you. You couldn't do what I do because you're just not passionate about what the sort of things that I nerd out about. It's just not the way we're built. So I think we can talk about product, but actually it's the need behind the need again. It's beyond value, isn't it? It's beyond the initial stuff. It's what's underneath that really matters. And I guess that's the point.
So this is good, because actually where we're getting to is a point where being passionate about what we do does help. It doesn't necessarily need to be there if you've got the level of capability to deliver the job. It's not a prerequisite. Again, I'm playing this back. What you're saying is it's not a prerequisite to be passionate if you've got the level of capability. So let's just agree that that's true at this stage. But let me challenge that and take it one step further. If you've got someone who's got a great level of capability, not just in sales, but in all walks of life, and then on top of that, they're deeply passionate about what they do, in your opinion, do you not think that that could potentially make them perform at a higher level because of that?
So yes, I think on the surface that is true, but what can happen is that passion can often start to cloud the competence. That sounds a really weird thing to say, but I've seen it in people who get so passionate about what they do, they start losing some of their competence. And that's coming from me as a very nerdy person. I've seen people go off on different routes and they change their competence, or they lose their competence because they get passionate about something else, and they actually stop being or doing what they're really good at. Maybe an example that everyone will be aware of is nurses. Nurses are often very passionate about doing good things and looking after their patients. They get really good at it. They get promoted. They end up being a manager, or they get promoted to what they call them, sister or what have you. They then end up managing a ward, not giving care. So they're passionate and competent doing the wrong job. Now, I might be going off on a slightly different tangent from where we started, but that's okay, right? And I do generally think that often we end up doing roles because we're competent that we shouldn't be doing.
So in that case, if you're doing a role that you're passionate about, but you're not competent, then you can be developed. In many cases, you can improve within that role. If the passion is there, if the fire is in your belly, you can improve the capability to be really effective in what you do. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with that.
Okay. If you've got a situation where you've got that capability, but really you're not all in because the passion is not there, how do you fix that?
You see, this is where we will disagree, because I think that being good at what you do could be disconnected from passionate about what you do. So you can be really good. I mean, and you see this all. That's why people have hobbies and pastimes. How many people do we know that are really passionate about weird things that we never knew about, and they'll spend more money and time on those things? Doesn't mean they're not competent at what they do. I like building models. You know, I'm a proper nerd. I mean, you can see the enterprise up there. Look, I'm a proper nerd, and I love doing those sorts of things. Doesn't mean that I'm not good, or I want to be passionate about that and competent at that. Don't care. That's different. I can separate them, and I'm just wondering whether that's the difference between my personality and other people's personalities, where it becomes so ingrained it's one thing, while I'm quite good at separation. Don't know.
Well, maybe it's the whole synthesis of what we're talking about here. You know, there is no right or wrong answer.
No.
Maybe in my head, I'm going, well, you need to be competent. And of course, you can grow competence over time with marginal gains and improve what you do.
Absolutely.
Everybody should do that. We should never stand still in what we're doing, and nursing being a good example of that. You're always learning new things along the way. If you then deeply feel passionate about what you do, surely that resonates, surely that shines through when you're dealing with whatever role you do. It doesn't need to be in sales, it can be in service, it can be in engineering, it can be in anything. That's my view. Yours is different. That doesn't make me right and you wrong.
No, absolutely not. But I think we often, because of the way that we're orientated, you could argue, and you have robustly, that you need to have passion. And if you were hiring somebody, that may be part of your question set to hire talent. For me, I wouldn't have that in my question set, because that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for competence, and that could get you very different individuals. And it shows probably that if you were going on a hiring spree, you've got to make sure you've got people from different dimensions to get the right people. Otherwise, you could just end up getting clones of yourself. Because we want people like ourselves, right? That's what nature of humanity. So if we want to get truly diverse across our hiring capability and our talent base, we need to make sure we're looking at people from different perspectives.
I think this is the point, isn't it? In the when you've got debates and arguments like this, there is no right answer, because situationally it can vary widely. The real truth of it is, look at the different perspectives. Don't be trapped within your own world. Listen to other people's points of view, understand their reasoning. Don't judge until you understand. So seek first to understand, then be understood, rather than imposing your view without getting those two perspectives. Is that not the real message of this today?
Yeah, I think so. But I will concede on one thing, which actually is interesting when you think about it, is that there is always passion. You just need to find where that passion is. So if my passion is around ticking off a list, that's fine. I don't need to be passionate about the product or the end game. As long as I'm passionate about ticking off the box, you're going to get your end result. So, and you're passionate about the relationship, and arguably you're only going to work with products that are going to be beneficial to your customer. So whilst you say that I need to be passionate about the product, for you, your passion's a stage lower than that. Your passion is making sure you get the right thing for the right person. So then the product naturally follows. It's lead and lag indicators again, isn't it? So there is always a level of passion, but we mustn't confuse that, saying you must be passionate about one thing. You've just got to find that passion and make sure you leverage that passion. And I guess that would be the same when you're developing people. If you have people working for you, find out where their passion lies and then engage them at that level, as opposed to getting them to try and do it at your level.
And I think that's the one of the key things of leadership. So if you're a leader or a manager listening into our podcast today, and you look yourself in the mirror, do you really know what that passion is for your people? Because it is different for different people. And if you don't know that, how can you possibly work with it and coach individuals' capability to get to a different outcome? So I think that concession that you've made, James, is actually the really key point. Understand people, understand what makes them passionate about whatever it is. Never assume that it's always the same.
Yeah.
And then work.
Never assume it's yours, because it's so easy to project our view on the world, as opposed to sitting back and say, what does it look like? And what you said, very powerful, Mr. Covey there, seek first to understand, then be understood. And so we've got to understand people. We've got to really empathize with those individuals.
So we would love to hear from you. We would love to get your perspective on what you think about the debate that we've had today. Capability versus passion. Do you need them both in equal measure? Do you need one, not the other? What do you think? We'd love to hear from you. We've given our perspectives. I think we both agreed that we need to understand people and what makes them passionate. But what do you think? We'd love to hear from you. James, a pleasure as always.
You're welcome.
Let us know what you think, and we'll see you soon on another chat with Matt. Thank you and stay safe.